In this video, I'm going to show you guys how we help this athlete go from 86 to 92 throughout midsummer without having his velocity regress after gaining weight or after getting stronger in the gym. Now, obviously, when they're throwing somewhere between the mid-high 80s and they're trying to gain more velocity and they result through the route of like gaining weight and trying to get stronger, but oftentimes that just happens because they don't have the proper steps in place to make sure that their weight and their relative strength continues to match their movement capacity. But the summertime is a very important time for athletes to continue getting development. Unfortunately, many athletes choose the route of playing summer ball to try to get more innings on the mound. However, once we get back to school, if you don't have the capacity to blow it by hitters, spot the ball wherever you need to spot it to be able to compete, it doesn't matter how much confidence you have out there. If you cannot compete and you're just getting hit around, you're more than likely still not going to play. So this athlete definitely chose a different route. He did play summer ball. However, I want to show you guys how exactly we got his velocity up and how we helped him make the transition from development into summer ball and how he's currently killing it. Before I dive into it, my name is Anthony Rodriguez, coach and founder of Versatile Athletics. We help athletes across every single level from the high school, junior college, and the Division I level, help them increase their velocity while helping them understand how their bodies prefer to move. With that said, let's go ahead and get right back into the video. All right, now let me be clear. This athlete already had the skills to be able to compete out on the mound. He was sitting somewhere mid-ish, high 80s when we got to him. However, he was at a point where he had already gained weight, he had already gotten stronger, but his velocity semi-stalled and it actually like started to drop down. And towards the end of the season, which was when we picked him up, he was getting a little bit more wild. He couldn't feel like any aspect of, or like more so like the lower half aspect of his delivery, which was something that he was trying to find the answer for months and years, even while training with gurus in person, and nobody could really quite like help him crack this code. We set out his first month training plan of getting stronger, layering over the nutrition side of things, and then transitioning him into summer ball so he can compete. And then now once he gets into the fall, he's going to be ready to rock and roll. So here's how we did it and how we helped him get into better positions that he's been trying to get into for years that he couldn't really get into, and how he was able to get stronger and gain weight without losing velocity. So the first thing that we did was that we assessed him. We ran him through a mobility assessment to understand really what was happening more so for the lower half and his trunk stacking. He was currently struggling with dumping the trunk forward, wasn't holding much tension on the back leg. He was flying open, which was also limiting the amount of separation that he was getting, while the arms were also really not on time. So main thing we want to do is we want to look a layer under what's happening from the biomechanics side, because as much as we love biomechanics, we can't just focus on drills when there's something underneath of that's holding those drills back from converting over into the mouth. So once we ran him through the mobility assessment, the biggest thing for him that we found was that he was very hypermobile. It could be a blessing or a curse actually for a lot of athletes. It's a blessing if you know how to use it properly and you leverage the amount of extra laxity that your muscles have to produce force. And then it's also a curse if you have no idea you were ever hypermobile and you're trying to mold your way to look a certain way. What we understood from that was that he needed a lot more awareness within his body. Not only a strength phase, a phase where we helped him understand where his body was in space. So essentially we're trying to really tighten him up and just give him the overall awareness of like where those limbs are. So through interventions of eccentric movements, slow and controlled movements on the way down, with that we help him stabilize the pelvic structure, which the pelvic structure helps stabilize the trunk and everything else after that. Now, what that did was it affected the way that he was moving on the mound, because now when he got back on the mound, obviously his trunk and pelvis were a lot more stacked down and out the mound, which helped him increase the amount of separation that he was getting, and just also helped the lower half hold a lot better hinge while he's traveling down the mound. Now, of course, we didn't just hope and pray that that type of lifting awareness style was gonna just magically convert over to the mound. As he was doing that, we also layered up drills to improve his motor patterns to support those positions that we want to get into. Now, after that was done, we then progressed into more of a strength and power phase. So as he's getting more awareness, getting more stability of the lower half, upper half, his strength, power, and speed was also increasing, which again, now that he has a stable structure, he can then take that onto the mound and have it transfer. Because before, when he got stronger, he couldn't take that onto the field because the hypermobility was causing him to dump energy in a lot of different stages of his mechanics. That said, the motor preference assessment, which was number 2, was also highly important for him. We didn't just want to mold him into a certain mechanical viewpoint that we thought was great for him. We wanted to mold him into a viewpoint that his body could learn best on and his body could optimize to move best on as well. So this is where the motor preference assessment came in place, where we helped him understand how his body prefer to move, how he prefers to think, which also helped us in terms of cueing him and the type of drills that we were getting him. These drills are vital because, like I've mentioned, it's not just about forcing him into positions, it's about helping him get into those optimal positions with the proper cues and drills. These cues and drills helped him understand his back leg a lot better, helped him understand what he needed to do in terms of like staying stacked as he's riding down the mound, and the way that he needed to spiral out the arm. So for him, again, being like very hypermobile, his arms are getting super far away from him. However, everything is on a continuum. So we took the levers that he has, the hypermobility and the preferences, to mold the arm into a way that was right for him. That's the great thing about the motor preference side. It wasn't that he was forcing those movements. It was something that just complemented everything else that we were doing. Now, number 3 is we layered nutrition over everything. The reason why nutrition was kind of like the last thing was because as you're obviously getting stronger, you're increasing muscle mass, which the style of lifting that we had him do at first, to create more awareness of where his body is in space, he was gonna be bringing on more muscle mass. So we wanted that to kind of like just be the weight that he was trying to gain. On the nutritional side, right, we strategically had him gain 1 pound to 2 max per week, right? That way he's not just shooting up in weight how he did before, which I think was like 10 or 15 pounds in about a month. And obviously, like, the biggest downfall with that is that when you shoot up in weight that much, your bones, strength levels, power, speed, they can't adapt that quick. Like, it's gonna take some time. So we strategically gave him a plan so he can be gaining the right amount of weight that was going to still reflect, and the power, strength, and speed that he was developing was going to all hold up together. That was like one of his biggest things that he had going on for him, making sure that all of these things just stayed together as he was getting bigger, faster, stronger, and more stable. So overall, with that, 2 months into the program, we got him from 86 to 92. Now he's successfully made the transition into summer ball, and his slider is back, and he's also commanded the zone a lot better. So this is how we help this athlete go from literally finishing up the season through midsummer and now making a transition into summer ball and literally killing it. Like, he's been completely crushing summer ball. Even though he's playing, we are still sprinkling in a lot of the things that we want him to continue getting better on throughout this playing time. He's only playing like 1 time a week, so we have everything formatted to just support that 1 time a week where he's pitching, and then just make sure that we're continuing progressing. So with him, he's still very underdeveloped. Skills are already up there. He can compete on the mound. He just needed the right implementation, not just more information without understanding really what was going on beneath the surface. If you want to learn more about how we help our athletes specifically increase their velocity, move pain-free, and get the recognition that they deserve, feel free to book in a call with us down below in the description. We'll see if we can help. See you guys on the next one.